this whole merger thing, right? The UFC and WWE. What do you think that's going to look like? Because I'm thinking about it and saying, well, damn, that could be the perfect retirement path for a lot of the UFC fighters, and it could be the perfect, personality training, teaching these guys the pageantry for the UFC guys.
1,000,000%. I think they scored tenfold. I think that wrestling is evolving in ways that people will never understand, and the WWE is going to be a place where you can wrestle all over the world and earn your stripes and get there that way. But I think that you're going to see a process whereby you're going to have a lot of crossover with NFL, with just the biggest stars in the world, whether that be actors, musicians, YouTube, and it is its own art. So it's not something that without passion you can just pick up. But there's going to be the NCAA NIL program, and there's going to be a growth, I think, within that company that allows for them to put out a product that has actual stars that are not just stars in wrestling, but stars in general. As someone that when you see walking down the street, you go, oh, that guy's a star. Maybe I don't know who that is, but I know what a star when I see one. And, I think that you're going to see that in, like you said, the UFC, the transition from UFC to WWE is probably going to be obviously a lot more, prevalent now. But these people that are going to be able to transition, they're only going to be able to do it if they get it. And wrestling, sometimes people just don't get it. And that goes for your aunt, your uncle, your sister, your cousin. Like some people look at you like, you're a wrestling fan? You watch that shit? But at the end of the day, wrestling is for kids. It's for families to come together. It's for a great time to suspend your disbelief. And, I share that one thing in common with all the wrestling fans, that I'm one too,
Yeah, and I think that the UFC could learn a lot from Vince in regard to selling pay-per-views, and even because a lot of these celebrity boxing matches, that's where they have trouble. They build the buzz online, but then they don't sell the pay-per-views at the rate you'd expect.
I think that Vince created a model, though, that is probably going to be used by the UFC when it comes to making pay-per-views and a network. Like the WWE made the WWE Network, and then here we are. We have our entire UFC library on one place, and now all of a sudden we put it on Peacock, or we put it on ESPN Plus, or we put it on Disney, and you'd be able to go in and watch every single UFC that ever happened, just like you can go now and watch every WrestleMania that ever happened.
Yeah, that is very cool.
And it'll probably be in one place. It'll probably be Endeavor's library of UFC, WWE, WCW, all the MMA library and all the fight that you could ever want in one place. I would imagine that's on the forefront. You got to remember, Vince is a visionary. And, I've seen things coming from a million miles away. I mean, that's the only way that you really get to the dance, is being able to, be a Zengeist of sorts, right? It's as simple as marketing on the mechanism of what a wrestler is wearing when he goes to the ring. And,
right.
And that's a bite on culture as well. You know what I mean?
Which I think is something that UFC suffers with, because these guys can't embrace their own personality. I hate that they got to come out with these Reebok uniforms, and I think that that's something that would be great. I don't know what Reebok's paying them, but I'd imagine it's not as much as they could make if they would let these guys really flourish into their own personalities.
Well, Reebok should personally allow anybody who's fighting in the UFC to design the trunks that they want to wear.
I mean,
because
absolutely.
if you're a fan of the fighter, and you want to support him, or you're a fan of UFC, and you're watching the show and you go, oh, those ones that guy's wearing are cool. That they put a little flash on the screen with a QR code, and they tell you, hey, the trunks that so-and-so's wearing are designed by him. And if you like them, you can buy them right now.
Absolutely. I mean, we got athletes. I mean, you're a prime example of athletes being more than an athlete. We're in this generation now where athletes are thinking about art. They're thinking about design. They're thinking about what they're putting on their body, and they want to embrace their uniqueness. And I mean, that's a big miss, but hopefully that's one of the cool things that comes out of this partnership. Now, do you worry about this? I saw Bovada, you could actually this year you could bet on WrestleMania, which is kind of wild to me, right? That you could bet on pro wrestling. Now, do you think that this relationship could make people start to think about UFC and start to think about the determination of how these fights turn out?
1,000,000%. There's going to be a place, dude. Look, they're going to be able to get a regulation in Vegas, I'm sure, or some offshore account, or in the Bahamas, and and you can do it on your phone. But there's going to be somebody out there who lets you bet on wrestling.
No, it's out. No, Bovada did it this year. WrestleMania, you could bet on.
This year, you could bet on WrestleMania for a fact?
For a fact. I placed some bets.
Oh, my God.
Insane.
I would have made a lot of money, wouldn't I?